Honestly, TikTok.
Usually it's social media.
I read BBC and The Economist.
TikTok.
I get a lot of news from Instagram.
Washington Post or Wall Street Journal.
It's usually social media.
No one reads paper news, so it's all online news.
The world's changed so much recently in that you can get countless options for where to get your news. And you can, by the way, pick your place on the spectrum from way left to way right or anywhere in between.
Really what's going on is people have created their own information bubbles.
And that's one of the reasons why one of our pillars of the project is on the information marketplace, making sure that people get the facts and the evidence that they need to make informed decisions.
We live in an age where information is available at our fingertips. It is produced by individuals, organizations, and providers, all with their own agenda. That means it is possible that information may be polluted with inaccuracies and biases. Because of this, it can be challenging to obtain true and reliable information. In today's information marketplace, being a discerning consumer is crucial.
No matter who you are, we have confirmation bias. We want people to tell us what we know to be true. When I was in office, when I read an article about me that was good, I read every word, maybe twice. When it was a bad article, I'm swiping or turning the page or whatever it is, okay? That's just how we are. Our problem today is this: more and more we just hang out with people who are like us. They look like us, racially we tend to live with people in the same income segment. More and more we even find people who are moving to certain places because there's more people that vote like me there. Well, the downside to that is, first of all, we get to choose our own news and we get to curate that on my phone. After a while, it sees what I click on, so it tells me more of the news that I like. And then I'm around people who look and think a lot more like me. That confirmation bias says, therefore, because my news tells me everything I think is right, and my friends and the people I hang out with tell me everything I think is right, I'm not only right, I'm 100% right, which means the other side is really, really wrong. We just have to realize that's the world we live in today.
We learn when people disagree with us because we have to sit back and think, okay, why are they holding that position? And maybe you come back and say, look, I'm still going to hold to my position, but I understand what you're coming with. We learn from criticism, we learn from divergent views. And so that disagreement is really critical, but we need to find a way to get people to break out of those information bubbles.
I have seen kind of progression.
This is a challenge for us right now in this current environment, including how algorithms are working and how algorithms are pushing out data and information, how they're incentivizing people to behave in one way or the other. More than ever, we're having global media outlets which are also evolving and increasing, commenting and influencing US media. I'm hearing a lot of people who will quote investigations that they've seen coming out of Haaretz, coming out of Guardian, and other publications too. So it's not only US media outlets that are influencing and shaping US public opinion.
We're living in a golden age of citizen stress tests. Every minute is a test of citizenship. You have to consider the source of every news report. You have to weigh the motivations and opinions behind any tweet, any rendered opinion. You can take very little at face value, and that's really hard. The way American information has always been promulgated is through private enterprise. Private enterprise with a public sense of mission. The pamphleteers of the revolution were printing it out and selling it. Newspapers have never been free. And so the economics matter here. And one of the reasons for the rebirth of partisan media is that that's a sounder economic model. You want to be able to go to advertisers and say, we have 1 million conservatives, and if you want to sell stuff to them, this is what you've got. That's easier to do than saying, we have 1 million really interested citizens who are interested in all sorts of things, and we want you to sell stuff to them. If you're an advertiser, you want this, you don't want that.
People have to remember that there's a lot of folks who do well by stirring up outrage and anger. Cable news is kind of built around that idea. That's the more I can get you mad, the more you're going to keep watching. And particularly if I get you mad by telling something that you already believe, and the confirmation bias kicks in and you're going to watch more and more of it.
It's an economic model that depends on outrage. And it's exhausting. And so we have this machinery of perpetual conflict. And it doesn't require what the quality of the fuel is that goes into the machine. Nobody wakes up at cable news networks at 5 a.m., scans the headlines and says, oh, we're not going to have anything to talk about today, so let's not do it. Right? It doesn't matter. That chyron is hungry. You just got to keep it coming. And so that has a distorting effect on what's actually worth talking about.
We also can get carried away sometimes with thinking about how large an impact they have. If you look at the viewership in any one show, you're talking about a couple of million people. You're talking about 1% max of the US population.
The other thing is one shouldn't underestimate the American public. That is that they do want to get things right. And they may be subject to misinformation or whatever, but give them the tools so that they can sort that through. Exactly what that is not clear to me. But again, if technology created this problem, maybe technology can get us out of it in some way, shape or form. And I think it's also just having these kinds of conversations and making sure you show respect to the other side.
One conversation the Vanderbilt Project on Unity and American Democracy hosted was an event with former Congressman Tim Ryan on civil discourse in the disinformation age. He was asked, how do you fight misinformation?
It's hard. I mean, it's really, really hard today. I'm stunned at the number of people who get their political news from TikTok. It's unreal. It's not balanced, and it's just, more commentary. So it's really, really difficult. I think the problem is that we are not, and I say this as a Democrat, we are not connecting emotionally to the voters. And when you don't connect emotionally, then people are susceptible to all of this misinformation because they don't trust anybody. And I think that's the underlying problem, is that there's not a lot of trust.
This is the test of our time. It requires a sense of evidence-based judgment. It requires a generosity of spirit. It requires patience. And who the hell wants to do all that all the time? But here we are, and we have to.